Hi everyone, Aidan here at eTrailer.com. Today we're taking a look at and showing you how to install the RetraxONE MX Hard Tonneau cover on our 2019 GMC Sierra 1500. Now, this is going to be a canister style tonneau cover. That means it's going to roll up into a canister in the bed here. So rather than having a tri-fold design like some other hard tonneau covers have, it's not going to block the back window here, but it will take up a bit of bed space as a trade-off there. Each one is going to have their own benefits. Personally, I like the canister style because I think it just looks cleaner and keeps your back window functional while still giving you a good amount of bed access. Let's check it out. So it's going to be constructed of a series of aluminum slats and a Lexan material on top that's going to be UV resistant, keeping the tonneau cover looking nice over a long period of time. And that aluminum paneling is going to be really helpful for security. With a soft tonneau cover, anyone can come up with a knife and cut it open and get to your bed inside. This tonneau cover locks, plus the hard surface is going to be a lot harder to break through, and with the locking tailgate, we're going to have pretty much the best security we can get for our truck bed. That lock is going to be located at the back of the tonneau cover under this cover here. And it's got a button to lift up the lever. Right now it's in the locked position, so I can't lift it up and I can't open the cover. Unlocking that lock allows us to open up the handle and freely move the tonneau cover back into the canister here and lock it back down to get it secured. All of that is really easy to do. You've got your two keys and this runs pretty smoothly. The more you use it, the more it'll kind of break in. There are a few spots on here where it's a little bit stiffer right now, but overall everything runs really smoothly and you can lock it at any point too. Just throw down that latch and you're going to have it locked in place. You can always lock the cover too if you want to, but you don't necessarily need to. Just closing that handle will keep it from moving on its own. So if you need to partially cover the bed of your truck for an extended load that maybe sticks up past the tailgate here, you can do that and still get some of the fuel economy benefits of having a covered bed. All around the tonneau cover, there's really great weather sealing too. At the very front, there's a large rubber flap that's going to hold over the bulkhead of the bed to keep that covered up. We've got foam sealing all along the side rails of the cover, and along the tailgate there's a really nice rubber seal here that kind of smushes against the tailgate when you close it, so that's going to give you a great seal there too. If there is water intrusion and water starts to collect in the canister, we've got two drain tubes that we'll do during the install that run from the canister out of the truck bed on either side, so we don't have to worry about water collecting there. With that canister taking up space in the bed, you probably want to know how much space it takes up. From the front of the bed to the outermost point of the canister, it's going to be 13.5 inches. And from the top of the bed to the bottom of the canister, it's going to be sitting right around 10.5 inches. So that's the kind of space you're sacrificing. If you do have some smaller loads that are a bit shorter, you can slide it underneath the canister. And there is this diagonal cut right here that's going to give a little bit more space in this area too. It's not some big square just sitting in the bed. If you do need all the bed space you can get, maybe you've got a short bed like this and you don't want this taking up space, one of those tri-fold covers is a nice option because it doesn't take up any room in the bed. Again, that trade-off there is that when it's fully folded up, it's going to be blocking the back window, so just keep that in mind when you're picking it out. The clamps here are what hold the tonneau cover in place. We've got 4 in total, 2 on each side, and those just attach to the rails and the bed rail of the truck. No drilling required to get these installed, and it gets a really strong hold on the tonneau cover. Speaking of the install, let's walk you through that process right now. It's pretty simple to do. You want one extra set of hands to help you lift the assembly into the bed, but other than that, you should be able to get it done in just 1 or 2 hours. First step of the install is going to be to get the canister opened up and set it on the box so it doesn't get scratched up on the ground. We've got some shipping materials we need to remove first. The main one here being this bracket and this sort of spiral piece going through the canister. This we can set to the side and just throw away. This bracket, however, once we remove the Phillips head screw holding it in, we want to save it. The screw can get set to the side, you don't need it for the install. But the bracket will actually act as a spacer block later on in the install, and we will want to save that part. To install the side rails, you want to make sure you have the proper side. This foam seal will be on the actual bed rail of the truck towards the outside of the cover. And then the cab side, the one that connects to the canister here, is going to have two holes. One tab with a hole right here and another hole right here. That'll line up with the hole we just removed that screw from on the canister, and this one right here that has a matching shape that'll fit with that tab. So what we can do is actually slide the bearings into the rail of the tonneau cover and get those holes aligned. When you're getting that rail slid into place, you do need to have the cover unlocked and opened up. That way it can slide in freely without any obstructions. And it may help to have a second set of hands here holding this in place while you do this, but it's definitely doable on your own. Just get that tab lined up on the inside here and then attach your new Phillips head screws through those holes. Once both side rails are in place, we can take our front cover with the weather strip facing the cab direction, which is going to be towards the front here, and we can slide it underneath the rails. When you do this, there's going to be some holes on top of the rails that align with holes on that top cover. What we want to do when those align is go ahead and add in our screws using our provided Allen key. Now we can lift the whole assembly up into the bed with an extra set of hands, setting the canister towards the front of the vehicle. Being careful to not pinch your hands as you set it down, and make sure that front weather strip is sitting nice and flat against the bottom of the truck bed. Now we can grab those spacer blocks that we saved from the packing materials and use them at the tailgate. We want the tailgate closed, and we're going to use these to get the proper spacing between the end of our tonneau cover rail and the start of the tailgate here. You can see we've got a gap right now, and this doesn't fit in. We want this more narrow part to be our spacer. So I'm just going to hold it up in place, kind of sideways like this so the bed liner doesn't get in the way. And I'm just going to pull the rail of the tonneau cover until it makes contact and holds that spacer in place right there on both sides. Then we can install our clamps. We've got two on each side, and they're going to go right here between these two plastic screws. The more narrow part will fit between them, and the wider part will go up and behind. Before we do that, we need to install some spacers for our GMC Sierra. If you come to the end of the tailgate here, you'll notice this small gap between the plastic bed rail cap and the bit of sheet metal on the side of the bed here. In that gap, we want to put the spacers. We've got adhesive on the back that we can peel away the backing and stick it to the side there so it fits. And that's going to go in between those gaps at the points where our clamps are going to install. Now when you're doing this, you want to put some downward pressure on the rail to make sure that that weather seal engages and that the rail sits level. It can help to have an extra set of hands to do this, so you can hold onto the clamp with one hand and have the tool in the other, or you can do it the way we did it, tightening it a little bit by hand first and using that tool to get it the rest of the way. Once you've done that, you can go around, repeat that for the other three clamps, and you should be good to go. At this point, you want to take some measurements. The first one we're going to do is between the two screws on the top cover. That's kind of our control point here. And you're going from the inside of one rail to the inside of the other. Take note of that measurement, and then measure between your first two clamps. You want that measurement to be the same, ideally, or within 1/16 of an inch. If it's not, we're going to go to the plastic adjustment screws that we placed our clamps between and make some adjustments there to get these rails running parallel to each other. Ours are not, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the tool and make those adjustments. Making the adjustment is pretty simple. You want to do it to both screws and turn them the exact same amount on both sides. One complete turn is going to be a 1/16 of an inch difference. And with this, clockwise, if our rails are too far apart, which ours are, that's going to be bringing them inward. If you have to expand the rails outward, turn these counterclockwise. Once you've made those adjustments, you can test the fitment. We'll do ours right now, opening it up, and you can see it's sliding pretty smoothly. It definitely gets a little bound up in certain spots, but nothing that makes it unmovable. It just needs to be broken in more than likely, so I'd say it's probably pretty good. It closes properly, and then we can test the fitment with our tailgate too, to make sure that is all fitting properly. We're getting a good seal around the tailgate. Everything closes properly, and I can still open and operate the cover with the tailgate closed. So I'd say we're looking pretty good right here. Everything's sitting as it should, and we can move on to the drain tubes. For the drain tubes, one end will slot right up into the canister of the tonneau cover, and the other end needs to go outside of the bed. Now, how you do this can really vary depending on your application. Some trucks have these plastic covers that you can just remove and it'll lead straight out of the bed. That's great. Ours doesn't have any great spots to lead these out because we do have two of these, one on either side. So what we're gonna need to do is drill out a hole. I'm gonna use a smaller regular drill bit to get the hole started and widen it out with a step bit, just checking pretty frequently to make sure I've got the right fitment for the drain tube and nothing too big. Now I check behind the bed and in between the cab, and right here it looks like there shouldn't be anything important back there, so we're clear to drill, and I'll start that pilot hole. And then we'll widen it out with our step bit. So with our hole drilled out here, I'm going to test the fitment with our drain tube. It's definitely snug, but we can get it out, which is actually perfect. I'm not wanting it to be too loose because I don't want it to just come out on its own. So I'll feed a bit of this out, and then once I'm happy with that, I can put the other end up into the canister. I'll hear a small click, and I can test it and make sure it doesn't pull out. And I'm just going to feed this in to make sure that there's no more low spots in the tube. And here's what that finished product looks like. No low points in the drain tube, and we can repeat this same process on the other side. Now that the install is done, we can do everyone's favorite part, and that's peeling all the plastic off of the cover. And that'll conclude our look at installation at this RetraxONE MX Hard Tonneau cover on our 2019 GMC Sierra. Thanks for watching.